How you doing, YouTube? Got a few changes if you can't tell. Clean cut, hair's back to normal. Anyway, as you can tell, as you've seen on my channel, I've been drinking a lot of German beers, a lot of Oktoberfest German beers, a lot of fest beers, a lot of Marzens because of the time of the year and just because I downright love that style. Let me adjust this really quick. But I tell you what, those beers can be very hearty, and every once in a while, you know, I might need a little palate cleanser, you know, something a little lighter, dare I say even watery. But maybe I don't want a Miller Lite or a Bud Light or a Coors Light. Maybe I want something a little bit different. Well, here's something a little bit different. Good old Amstel Light. I decided to keep it European, although not from Germany. This is from the Netherlands. Anyway, in case you didn't know, imported. It's got imported a couple of spots on this bottle, and it says here Amsterdam, and it's 3.5% alcohol by volume. Well, alright, that's cool. Inspired, enlightened, free of inhibition. Well, if you want to be free of inhibition, you have to drink a whole lot of these, 3.5% like I said. And full of life. This beer from Amsterdam is a reflection of those who brew it, as well as those who drink it. We'll see about that. Anyway, this is a Heineken brand. Here, this is I think Amstel was purchased by Heineken sometime in like the 60s or something or another. I'm not an expert on Amstel Light, but anyway, 95 calories, so we're in Michelob Ultra territory, although all the Michelob Ultra drinking douchebags out there would be like, yeah, well, my beer, I think it's like 4%, I think. I got a 0.5% ABV on y'all. And also, if you check, this is 18 IBU, so a little hoppy for the light beer category, at least compared to, say, Miller Lite, Bud Light, Coors Light, which those might be, hell, those might even be in the single digits. That 10 or 12, I think, would be the cap on it. Anyway, speaking of the cap, let's take that cap off real quick. Let's go ahead and pour up in my Sam Adams glass. I am just infatuated with this glass. I've been using it for just about everything. Oh, that is a beautiful beer, very carbonated. I didn't even pour it that aggressively. It's beautiful, although very, very light. That is not gold. That is definitely, ooh, that's a little lighter than straw even. Very light here. Let's finish her off. Ooh, like I said, very carbonated. Got a little bit left in the bottom of that. I'll pour it in there in a second. But we got about a 2.5 finger head. Like I said, very, very, very light. Smell-wise, a little windy out here. Oh, you do get a little bit of foam in your nose if you try to snort it. Light white bread. A little grassy hop there. Very nice for a light beer. Very surprising to get a hop note. And clean water. Very light, very bright, but still a little something going on. I'm a tad impressed. Anyway, let's take a swallow. It's light. It is very light. Like I said, 95 calories, 3.5% alcohol per volume. You expect that. But even though it's light, the notes it does have is a little different from your prototypical, you know, light adjunct lager. I'm gonna go ahead and light a cigar. Yesterday had Georgia game. Georgia played South Carolina, and it's a tradition of mine, or maybe a superstition. Teams leading in the fourth quarter, you always light a cigar. But I had to go drive a good distance for work yesterday, so I didn't really have the time to go to a cigar shop and get like a Macanudo or a Romeo Juliet. So I just got these Cuban rounds. You might scoff at them, they are cheap, but hey, actual leaf wrapper, which is nice. And also, it doesn't have the pre-punched, or it doesn't have a hole in it. You still got to use the actual cutter, which is also nice. Still makes you feel classy. Gonna get, wow, very windy out here. Gonna get my handy dandy little cigar punch and get this leaf out of here. Let's go ahead and punch this guy. And also I don't have a torch with me, so You might judge me for this, but I'm going to light this like would a cigarette, or attempt to with this wind. And I know I'm going to get some judgments, people saying, well, no, you're not supposed to touch the flame to a cigar. Well, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. Anywho, back to the beer. Even though it is somewhat light on flavor, the flavor it has is quite different. You get malt. Like, it's not just like sweet, light beer flavor. Like, there's a little bit of barley malt in there. Even sometimes if I look for it, it almost has like a roasted kind of thing going on. Very interesting. Although I will say I am disappointed by the fact of this is the only Amstel product we can get in the United States, sadly. They have all kinds of different varieties. There's like a Bock, there's darker beers, there's stronger beers, there's just regular Amstel lager, there's Pilsner, stuff like that. And I would love to try some of those, though most of those are only native to Europe. So yeah, we're stuck with good old Amstel Light, although it is a very good light beer. I'll go ahead and say that. Has an interesting flavor, although very light. And overall, it's just very refreshing, although very watery, very light, but that is to be expected. Although I do have one big issue with this, and that is the price point. Now, if I was going to rate this beer on its own, I would go for a light beer. Let me go ahead and just put that out there. For a light beer, I would probably give this an 8.5. Although, due to the price point, 12-pack of this, I believe I spent $17 at like 17 or $17.99. That's pretty steep for a light beer. So just for the price point, I'm gonna have to knock off a little bit right there. I'm gonna go ahead and give this beer a, like I said, rated strictly on the style, I would give it an 8.5. But if you really, look at the price of it, that's a 7. Now, if money's not an issue and you just want to try a light beer, then yeah, like I said, 8.5, go ahead, try it. But if money's an issue and you're a light beer drinker, just honestly stick to your Bud Miller Coors Light, or whatever you drink, just because, yes, this is a very good light beer, although it's still a light beer. I wouldn't spend that much money on a light beer. I just wouldn't do it. Although I actually did it, so anyway, yeah. So 7 out of 10, yeah. And go ahead with a cigar. Just do a little quick review of this. Pack of 3 here. Very basic, very simple. Not extremely complex in any way. Decent, smooth smoke. The draw is a little tight, but for a gas station cigar, and for the fact if I can get 3 of these for $5 out of 10, this is an 8. Yeah, throwing the price, it's an 8. Very good. If you're a cigar snob, you won't like it. If you're someone who just likes a cigar every once in a while and you're like craving a cigar, but you're nowhere near a cigar store and you see one of these in the gas station, pick it up. I don't think you'll be disappointed. And worst case scenario, if you're disappointed, spend $5 on 3 of them. Give them to a friend. Who cares? Anyway, like, rate, and subscribe if you care to. If you don't, ain't gonna hurt my feelings. And before I go ahead and say my little catchphrase, good news out of Nigeria. They have passed a law that rapists will get automatically castrated, and if you're found guilty of raping a child, death penalty. As a way, I'll go ahead and admit I'm a Western chauvinist, but I will agree there's a few things we can learn from the continent of Africa. So good for the Nigerians. Anyway, Make sure to kill your local pedophile and have a good night and a pleasant tomorrow.